On this Friday night, no more confidence for Justin Trudeau. The NDP leader's new vow to take down the Liberal government. What's left for the Prime Minister as opposition parties are dead set on an election?
This cannot go on.
And what's today's cabinet shuffle worth now? The new roles and new faces of Trudeau's inner circle as dissent grows within his own party. Plus, details on a deadly attack in Germany after a car plows into a Christmas market crowd. And standing strong.
I'd love to see a program where they already have made these adaptations.
How a Dalhousie medical student isn't letting a wheelchair keep him from the operating room.
Global National. Reporting tonight, Carolyn Jarvis.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. The week started with a dramatic resignation on Parliament Hill, and tonight there's even more uncertainty for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. All three opposition parties are now calling for his government to fall as the Prime Minister scrambles to ensure it can still function properly. One by one, Liberal members of Parliament arrived at Rideau Hall this morning, some joining Cabinet for the first time, while others are moving to new roles. A major shuffle for Justin Trudeau's front bench aimed at stabilizing his government through turbulent times. We have team coverage in Ottawa tonight, digging into the details and possible consequences. But we begin with the persistent pressure for Justin Trudeau to resign and the renewed efforts from opposition parties to take down the Liberal government. Mackenzie Gray reports.
Prime Minister, are you going to step down? Are you considering proroguing?
The Prime Minister's future still not clear.
We know how important it is for Canadians that we be there to protect not just the Canadian economy, but their jobs.
Justin Trudeau not saying if he'll stay or go, a decision that may soon not be up to him. Jagmeet Singh saying the NDP will vote to bring down this government no matter who is leading the Liberal Party. This government's time is up.
He has seen through the actions of the Prime Minister over the last while, but certainly this week, that there's nothing left to get out of this government, and now it's time to go to an election.
Mr. Julian.
A source telling Global News an angry NDP caucus pushed Singh to say he'd bring down Trudeau, frustrated they hadn't followed the Bloc and Conservatives in wanting an election, a vote that wouldn't be imminent. The House of Commons is on recess until January 27th, and the earliest the opposition could take down the government is likely the end of February.
This cannot go on.
Not quick enough for the Conservatives.
So I will be writing the Governor-General, asking her to urgently reconvene Parliament and require a non-confidence vote.
But Mary Simon can't do what Pierre Poilievre is asking for. The Governor-General doesn't dictate the House of Commons agenda, only the Speaker does. But what she could do is prorogue Parliament, essentially shutting down the House at the request of the Prime Minister, like Stephen Harper did in 2008 to avoid his government falling, a playbook Justin Trudeau could use to hang on or quit and allow time for a leadership race, something at least 20 Liberal MPs are publicly calling for.
The question for Liberal MPs is, do you want to go into an election with Justin Trudeau as your leader? And I don't think he's the most effective person to be our leader in the next election.
If Trudeau will do that is unclear, not even giving an indication to his newly appointed ministers.
Those are difficult choices. I think the Prime Minister was quite clear that he has a choice that he's reflecting on.
While Trudeau spoke to reporters, he's yet to take any questions since Chrystia Freeland's shock resignation, leaving his own party and Canadians unsure, Carolyn, where the country goes from here.
Mackenzie Gray in Ottawa, thank you. Well, to give us a greater understanding of the ramifications of this week in politics, we're joined by our Ottawa Bureau Chief, Mercedes Stevenson. Mercedes, what are we learning?
Carolyn, in what has probably been the craziest week in politics that I've ever covered, we still have questions about what Justin Trudeau's future looks like. Speaking to a source who is close to him, I'm told that at this point the Prime Minister is not resigning and he's not going to prorogue, at least over the weekend. What the future holds is a bigger question. I've been told that over the course of this week, it started with him being very surprised by Chrystia Freeland's resignation, although he was very aware she was not happy with what he had told her about McCartney on Friday and that she'd not agreed to take on the new role or with those changes. He then vacillated throughout the week between seeming like he was definitely going to resign and being committed to staying on. Ultimately, he made the decision to shuffle the cabinet, which buys him some time and potentially takes away some of the sting of those who might criticize him who are now in the cabinet. However, I'm hearing there's a number of MPs who could be releasing letters in coming days who are unhappy with the fact that they didn't get into cabinet. Going forward, forward, he has to make a decision about how to handle all of this, Carolyn.
So what's going on with the Prime Minister now, then?
So basically now he decides, can he survive this? And honestly, I don't think that there are many people who believe that that's possible. They believe it's a matter of time until he resigns. And how he does that and how long he stays on is the question. The most likely scenario is probably him proroguing Parliament, which could last for a few months, staying as Prime Minister so there's somebody who the U.S. has the ability to talk to about tariffs and a stable hand on the tiller. That leadership race for the Liberals plays out, and then once the new leader is elected, he hands over to them. There's also a scenario where we plunge directly into an election as well. That is probably the least likely scenario at this point because the Liberal Party simply isn't ready. They don't have the candidates in place in a number of ridings to be able to go. And then, of course, there's the possibility that he could appoint an interim leader while there's a leadership race, but that would essentially remove the ability of him to talk to the U.S. Now, talking to Americans, including people who are involved in the incoming Trump administration, I'm told whoever is at the head of the government at this point is really regarded as a lame duck. They're expecting the new government, whoever that is, to come in shortly after an election, which will likely be sometime in the spring if Jagmeet Singh and Yves-François Blanchet follow through on their threats of bringing down the government, something the Conservatives obviously back.
Mercedes Stevenson in Ottawa, thank you. Well, as mentioned, the Prime Minister unveiled a new cabinet today in an attempt to reset his government. This is how things stood a week ago. 35 ministers making up Justin Trudeau's cabinet. Chrystia Freeland's departure on Monday triggered Dominic LeBlanc moving to finance minister. Today, more changes that resulted in 5 other ministers leaving and 4 changing portfolios. 8 new MPs were welcomed in, bringing the total number in cabinet to 38. Trudeau has kept many ministers in key portfolios, but as David Akin reports, he's also appointed some long-serving backbenchers to take over key posts.
It was a shuffle to stop the bleeding.
I, David Joseph McGuinty, do solemnly and sincerely promise and swear.
Ottawa MP David McGuinty is one of 8 backbenchers elevated into cabinet, and he gets one of the most important jobs, Public Safety Minister, in charge of the RCMP, CSIS, and perhaps most crucially on the eve of the Trump administration taking over, he will play a key role in hardening the border.
I'm convinced that we're going to be able to resolve the issues between Canada and the incoming American administration. We have a history of cooperating.
The other newcomer with a big job, Toronto MP Nate Erskine-Smith, the new Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities. A year ago, he told the PM he was not going to run for re-election, but now he's changed his mind despite the government's tenuous grip on power.
I understand there's going to be a short runway. I'm not blind to that. But if I can make a small difference, if I can make a big difference, I want to make the biggest difference that I can. That's why I joined politics in the first place.
The cabinet is heavily tilted to Eastern Canada, which has 34 seats at the table versus just 4 for all of Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and BC combined. Winnipeg MP Terry Duguid is to be the West's advocate.
I'll be particularly focused on Prairie Canada, Western Canada, so important to the prosperity of our nation, 25% of the Canadian economy.
The minister in charge of Canada's Arctic, it's Gary Ananda-Sangari, who represents a Toronto riding, even though Trudeau has 2 MPs in ridings north of 60. One minister tried to convince reporters this is just what the country needs.
What you're seeing today is a cabinet full of new energy, obviously coupled with experience and competence.
But this cabinet shuffle may not be the reset the Trudeau government seeks because there are still 40 to 50 Liberal MPs, Liberals, who still seem committed as ever to seeing their leader quit. And if Trudeau does give way at some point for a leadership race, hopefuls in this caretaker cabinet might just run, which would prompt another shuffle. Carolyn.
David Akin in Ottawa, thank you. Police in Germany say at least 2 people have been killed, including a child, and roughly 60 others are injured. A car plowed into a crowd at a Christmas market, and it's thought to be deliberate. Redmond Shannon is following the developing details from London. Redmond, what more do you know?
Carolyn, it's clear this is a major incident. The attack happened at around 7 p.m. local time at a packed Christmas market in Magdeburg, about 2 hours west of Berlin. The black BMW drove a reported 400 metres through the Christmas market. Police say they have arrested the driver. The local state premier says the suspect is a 50-year-old Saudi citizen who has been in Germany since 2006. Working as a doctor, and he is a permanent resident. Authorities say the man appears to have acted alone. On Friday night, just days before Christmas, you can imagine the crowds would have been large in the market. The market is now closed.
Redmond, are officials saying anything about a potential motive?
Well, Carolyn, authorities are treating this as a terror attack, and the area is blocked off as local media report that there is a suspicion the car may have explosives in it. Last month, Germany's interior minister called for great vigilance at Germany's popular Christmas markets, and earlier this month, German police say they foiled a potential terror attack at a market in the southern city of Augsburg. In 2016, an attack at the Christmas market in Berlin killed 11 people and injured dozens. The so-called Islamic State claimed responsibility. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz will visit Magdeburg on Saturday. Meanwhile, a member of Germany's anti-immigration AfD party has posted on social media asking, quote, "When will this madness end?" Carolyn?
Redmond Shannon in London, thank you. Police in Toronto are investigating another shooting at an all-girls Jewish school in the city's North End. Nobody was hurt, but it is the third shooting at the school this year. And tonight, police are expressing solidarity with the Jewish community.
With just a few days away from the start of Hanukkah, we know how deeply disturbing this is to the Jewish community. I want to say to the Jewish community that the Toronto Police stands with you.
Sean O'Shea is outside the school with more on the investigation and the community's reaction. Sean.
Carolyn, this Jewish girls' school is located in an industrial part of North Toronto. Somebody, according to police, drove up here around 2:30 this morning, got out of the vehicle and fired off 6 bullets at the empty school, smashing glass and sending a very clear message. As you said, this is the third time this year somebody has attacked the school. The first back in May, then in October. Police laid charges in that second case, and those suspects remain in custody tonight. The rabbi in charge of the school told me that parents and educators and students here that they are all terrified as a result of these 3 incidents. There are calls for police to step up their patrols and for the mayor of Toronto to be more vocal in condemning street protests that leaders say are contributing to anti-Jewish sentiment. Now, here's what one Jewish community leader told us here today.
The fact is, this isn't an isolated incident. These kinds of things are happening all across our country, whether it's a synagogue being firebombed repeatedly in Montreal, or this school here that continues to suffer from gunfire in an effort to intimidate the girls that are here.
Toronto police say this is a top priority for them from the chief on down. They've assigned detectives in their gun and gangs unit as well as their hate crimes unit. In the meantime, they say they've semi-permanently put a command post here as a way to try to deter future shootings. Carolyn.
Sean O'Shea in Toronto, thank you. Wild winter weather in time for the holidays. Coming up, the frigid forecast across Canada just days before Christmas. Airports were bustling across the country today with the holiday travel season in full swing. According to the airlines, more than 3 million passengers have booked to fly on Air Canada or WestJet.
Going home.
Second day in a row trying.
Oh no.
Weather, Smithers couldn't land.
Cabo San Lucas.
We're looking forward to sunshine.
Desert, dry, sun, that's what we want.
Good food, good people, sun, beaches.
With long lines expected, passengers are encouraged to arrive early to make their flights. And if you're wondering if the weather is going to agree with your travel plans, there's lots of it on the way. Winter officially begins tomorrow, but the country is already jumping into the season with weather advisories from Ontario to Atlantic Canada. With the details, we're joined by Global News Chief Meteorologist Anthony Farnell. Anthony, How bad does it look?
Well, Carolyn, considering the busy travel period, these storms are likely to be high-impact events. This nor'easter just developing now in New England. It has Gulf Stream moisture on one side that's being thrown up into the Arctic air on the other. And the end result is going to be heavy snow for much of the Maritimes that sticks around right through Christmas because of the cold that's coming behind this system. Snowfall warning here, that includes Halifax. This is a winter storm warning up to 30 centimeters. That includes PEI and Moncton as well. And then Newfoundland lit up like a Christmas tree with wind, rainfall, freezing rain, winter storm warnings, and a rare blizzard warning for Labrador. So this system has multiple facets to it. The snow, of course, one of them, and that's going to cause difficult driving. Could also cause power outages because it's heavy, wet, and sticky. 15 to 30 centimeters on the way, and then the Arctic air moves into the Maritimes. It'll be very cold right through Ontario and Quebec with wind chills in the minus 20s at times. Now on the West Coast, different story. It's a parade of storms that start this weekend and it continues right through Christmas week. Heavy rain near the coast, but a lot of snow up at the ski hills. Unfortunately, that rain could be enough to cause flooding and some wind damage as well in the days ahead. Carolyn?
Global News Chief Meteorologist Anthony Farnell, thank you. Ahead, the 11th hour deal which helped U.S. lawmakers escape a looming U.S. government shutdown. Lawmakers in the U.S. have narrowly avoided a partial government shutdown that would have started at midnight tonight. Jackson Prosco joins me live now with the latest on what's unfolding on Capitol Hill. Jackson.
Well, Carolyn, after a tense day, this newest bill funds the government until mid-March. It provides relief from natural disasters and aid to farmers. But notably, it does not give in to Donald Trump's demands to lift the debt ceiling. That's the limit on how much the government can spend. It has been a tense few days here, though, on Capitol Hill after an original bipartisan plan was upended by Elon Musk. After he weighed in, Donald Trump then pulled his support and Republicans walked away. Republicans then tried to pass a pared-down bill last night, but more than 30 of their own party members voted against it, so it failed too. Now it seems, though, a government shutdown has been averted with this really streamlined package. But look, Republicans are not in an easy spot heading into the new year. They're going to have to tackle all of these tough issues once Donald Trump is president. And the last few days have suggested that's not going to be easy. It remains to be seen how long the party and President Trump will be willing to follow the whims of Elon Musk, who at the end of the day is unelected, but still a prominent advisor to the new president and beloved by many members of the Republican Party. Carolyn?
Jackson Prosco in Washington, thank you for that. Malaysia has agreed to restart the search for flight MH370. It will be led by Ocean Infinity, the same company that carried out an unsuccessful recovery mission in 2018. The hunt will focus on a part of the southern Indian Ocean that has not yet been searched. It's expected to begin in early 2025. Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 has been missing for more than 10 years. It was carrying 239 people. Next, the obstacles a BC man had to overcome to make it to a med school operating room.
Should we rock? Only rock. You only rock. Okay, get on your kid, la.
It was a special night for music fans in London. Ringo Starr joined Paul McCartney on stage for the first time in 5 years. The two Beatles bandmates played 2 songs together, providing a memorable end to McCartney's nearly 2-year tour. Well, when a young man from Kelowna lost the use of his legs after a rollerblading accident, he also lost hope of pursuing medical school. But today, R.J. Roggeveen is the first person in a wheelchair to attend med school at Dalhousie University, a student who now teaches others about what's possible when faced with adversity. Sky Breidenblom has his remarkable story.
It has always been R.J. Roggeveen's dream to scrub into surgery.
He moved to Nova Scotia at 18 to attend Dalhousie University. But in 2021, he faced a major setback.
I ended up having a fall roller skating, and from that point, over a few months, I progressively lost my coordination and strength in my legs. So I lost a significant amount of usage to be able to walk.
His injury required a switch to part-time studies, which made him ineligible for med school. But then the full-time criteria changed and his hope returned.
What really drove that push of, yes, let's make this dream something I want to do, was very much drawn on my own experience as a patient. I had some great doctors, but I also saw the stress of the healthcare system.
Roggeveen applied and became the first wheelchair user to be admitted into the program. But getting in was only the first barrier. Next, he began to fundraise for a $47,000 standing wheelchair to help make the OR space more accessible. Dalhousie also helped cover the cost. He worked with hospital staff to come up with a procedure to sanitize his wheelchair. Finally, he got the chance to perform his first surgery.
I think for a few minutes I was like, okay, is my chair in a good spot? Am I in the way or anything? And everyone's like, we'll tell you if you're in the way. And then after that, it kind of faded out that there was even this chair.
A ton of work went into ahead of time, but then the day of was so smooth, we kind of forgot he uses a wheelchair. And it was a very regular day with a regular operation.
Roggeveen hopes his journey inspires other schools.
I'd love to see a program where they already have made these adaptations so that the student is able to come in and be like, perfect, I'm all set up and ready to go.
Sky Bryden-Blom, Global News, Halifax.
And that is Global National for this Friday. I'm Carolyn Jarvis. Tonight's Your Canada are the holiday lights at the Inner Harbour and BC Legislature in Victoria. We love to see your Canada. Please email it to globalnational@globalnews.ca. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you here again tomorrow.